Let's get going. It's history. Yao is a word for a war in Nahuatl. Obviously, each language on this continent had its own word for war. Now, there are those who claim that everything here was peace and love. And I have even met people who assert that there were no weapons here at all. But the reality is different. We're not talking about groups that were constantly warring. They were simply human beings like other groups from different continents. It's human nature for one group to see others as outsiders and to try to dominate if one is stronger than the other. The isolation of this continent, unlike other continents, that eventually interrelated over thousands of years, led to less arms competition, preventing the development of more advanced and destructive weapons compared to what was happening elsewhere. Starting with the use of gunpowder. Combat systems and weapons of pre-Hispanic cultures were somewhat comfortable because there was no frantic military development competition. No group excelled too much over others in terms of weaponry to simulate more invention. Thus, the use of modern weapons, bows and arrows, crystals and rocks like obsidian, and some weapons starting to use metals were constant for thousands of years. Of course, this didn't prevent countless fights and battles throughout history. Evidence of this is found on Bonampak Murals, where we see warriors' battles and prisoner takings. There were aquatic incursions such as that of 8-deer jaguar claw, who arrived in canoes and subdued this island. This contradicts the Pacheco's theories of ancestral aliens, who see the shape of a space pistol here. We also find various weapons in what are now called Atlantes of Tula, including the atlatl, spears, various knives, and battle helmets. Just 50 years ago, it was believed that the Maya were peaceful, with astronomers, mathematicals, and wise people who only observed the stars. However, technologies like the LIDAR have discovered many Maya areas with fortifications and defensive walls still to be unearthed. With the deciphering of their writing on stele, countless war events are narrated. In Montalban, as a show of power, we have the so-called danzantes, who are believed to represent characters captured in battles. The subjugation of some groups by others is reflecting in the architecture of many of today's archaeological zones. While there is sometimes speculation about this, it clearly indicates invasions and subjugations. For example, it is known that Teotihuacan subjugated the Maya city of Tikal, with some constructions in Tikal showing Teotihuacan influence. This event was recorded in a stela discovered just a few years ago. The different Maya towns were never an empire, as some refer to them, are resembling more the Greek city-states where Maya groups constantly fought each other. Cities like Bonampak, Tikal, Copan, Uxmal, and several others fought amongst themselves. Another warlike groups were the Purepeches, who fought to the so-called Salt War. The Purepeches fought for the salt from territories belonging to the lordship in Colima, Sayula, Zapotlan, Tuxpan, Tapala, and Ahuatlan. Apart from the Purepeches, we have their battles against the Mexicas from the center. The Mexicas in turn fought many battles and subjugated many towns, starting from the migration, where it is recorded that they fought in two places before setting in Tenochtitlan. They were also subjugated by the Culhuacan lordship and later by the Tapenques. The Mexicas fought as mercenaries against various groups such as the Xochimilcas. Once freed from the yoke of Azcapotzalco, they subjugated countless towns, highlighting the rivalry with the Tlaxcaltecas. On their part, the Tepanecs, who had their greatest splendor with Tezosomoc, also won in war against various towns in the valley of Anahuac, including Texcoco, killing the Tlatoani of Texcoco, who was the father of Nezahualcóyotl. Later, in reciprocity, Nezahualcóyotl, along with the Mexicas and other groups, waged the so-called Pre-Hispanic War, defeating the Azcapotzalco forces. On the other hand, we have the guerrilla wars of the so-called savage groups living in the Great Chichimeca. Presently, from the north came an immigrations of groups called Chichimecas, who are thought to have contributed to decline Teotihuacan, Tula, and other central populations. From Tula, although there is no complete certainty, there is also a presumption that Tula groups reached Chichen Itza, subduing them and introducing the cult of Quetzalcoatl, calling it Culhuacan in Maya. In turn, Chichen Itza at its peak dominated neighboring Maya cities. During the so-called conquest, groups submit the others, as countless towns, including former aliens of the Mexicas, fought on the Spanish side, leading to the fall of Great Tenochtitlan. Groups from what is now called Central America, like the Pipiles and others, also had conflicts with Maya groups. The Tlaxcaltecas as well were known to have fought everywhere, even reaching the Philippines to battle supposed samurais. All of this is just a glimpse of the wars and battles, of which there were 1,000 throughout the pre-Hispanic period. As always in human history, the law of strongest prevailed. However, war here also had its particularities, such as the Ixtlilxochitl or Flower War. Sometimes battles were the notion of savages that historians then and now might label these groups with. Certain groups had insignious battle drums, specialized weapons, military ranks, and possible combat tactics. While we can speak of professional armies like today, it does indicate a relative constant military structure used to detain or engage in battle. Thus, in this continent, there was a warlike environment. We will discuss specific topics in other videos, but there was indeed war here.